Welcome to See You at USC and happy International Women's Day. Tonight on See You we have some super exciting guests. We have Nancy Cartwright and Peter Kjenaas here. It's going to make for an awesome episode, so be sure to stay tuned. Welcome back to See You at USC. I'm joined by Nancy Cartwright now. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Now, many people probably don't know what you look like in real life because they know the voice. Do you want to give an example of that for everyone?
Should I prove who I am? Nobody else sounds like this, especially when my throat is a little sore and I have a little laryngitis.
Well, it's all good. If you didn't get it, she's Bart Simpson. And it's shocking to some people that you're actually a woman.
Yeah, but it's also really cool because I've been on campus now today for about 3 hours, I guess, or 3.5 hours, and walking around and eating and seeing people. Nobody knows who I am. Yeah. It's kind of the best of everything. It's great.
I mean, I was telling you earlier, I don't get starstruck by like movie star actors, but when voice actors come, I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, how do they do this? So it's a pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Thanks.
So I got the honor of listening to you talk at the School of Dramatic Arts a couple hours ago, and you shared some wonderful stories, and I want to share those also on here also.
Sure.
So I want to start with how you got cast as Bart Simpson. I mean, that was a story on its own. Do you want to explain that?
Sure. Gosh, it was so long ago. It was in 1987, and my agent at the time told me about this audition, and I was already on about 6 Saturday morning syndicated television. This is before cable, before the internet. This was before everything. Mm-hmm. And she told me about it, and I was like, no, wait a minute. So wait, it's called a what? And she's an interstitial. What's that? Well, it takes you out of the show and then a little vignette, a little bumper. I mean, I'd never heard these words used to describe any kind of job. And it does, and then goes into a commercial and then another little vignette, interstitial, bumper, or whatever, and then back to the show. And I'm like, you mean it's not really a show? She goes, no, not really. It's just, I said, okay. To me, it was like, I guess I'll go for it, but I wasn't really particularly inspired by the opportunity, but I went anyway. Because I thought, well, maybe I'll get a job.
Struggling actor. No. Well, you weren't struggling.
I wasn't struggling, but it's sort of like, I'll just go for it. What the heck? I might as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, that attitude so sucked. But it did. It was kind of like, oh, well, but I didn't turn it down. It was an opportunity. Mm-hmm. So I went, and I was to audition for a character named Lisa, who was just described as the middle child, and that's all the data that she had. So I saw a picture of Lisa, but next to Lisa was a picture of Bart, and it said, a 10-year-old school-hating underachiever and proud of it. And just the description alone, I'm like, I'm sold. I don't want to do Lisa. I want to do Bart. Plus, I really didn't do a lot of girl voices. My niche was already doing boy voices. Mm-hmm. So Matt Grading was there, and I'm like, do you mind if I want to do the kid. Can I do the kid? No, that's fine. He said, okay, blah, 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 blah. He's like, whoa, my God, that's it. Bam, he hired me on the spot.
Incredible.
Mike Myers walked away. Jim Carrey, gone. It's like they didn't stand a chance.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
I mean, just the fact that you went in there and you told them, I don't want to read for this person, I want to read for that person.
Yeah.
You don't hear very many stories like that.
Yeah, I knew what was right for me. I had my own integrity, because I go, there's no way I'm going to get cast as Lisa. And nobody can do that like Yardley. I mean, Yardley, she gives a real sense of integrity to who Lisa is. And anyway, I'm a little bit more Bart-like.
Well, you mentioned Yardley because the Simpsons have been going on for like upwards of 30 years now.
Yeah, almost. Well, we just started season 29. Wow. So we've got 29 in a couple of years and we'll be done. And we'll see. I mean, I don't think any president of any network wants to be the one that, like, the Simpsons, you know? So I think as long as we're all alive, I think we'll keep doing it.
Well, I hope that there's more episodes to come. I personally grew up with The Simpsons, so this is
So cool.
I don't want to see it go anytime soon.
So cool. Well, did you grow up with the Rugrats too?
I did, but I wasn't so much into that. I was more like Little Mermaid, Disney princesses.
But you didn't like Chucky from the Rugrats? This was Chucky. He was like a little bit more famous than Bart Simpson.
He was.
Yeah.
At the time.
And well, for your age group.
Okay, that's true.
Because
yeah.
most kids were not allowed to watch it when they're really little, but they were allowed to watch the Rugrats. And I didn't create Chucky on the Rugrats. I ended up the gal that Christina Kavanaugh, who created that character. She retired, and they wanted to keep doing the show. So then I ended up getting that job. That was one of the hardest things I ever did. But it was really, wow, I love Chucky. I love Bart. I love Nelson, Ralph, Rod, Todd, Kearney, Database, Maggie. I love all the guys that I do. Super fun.
Well, I think it's super fitting that on National Women's Day, I'm talking to a woman who actually plays a man. Or a boy, I guess.
Yeah.
Not a man yet.
Yeah.
But how did you find that niche? How did you get that opportunity and say, I sound like a boy?
Yeah, I think it was just by doing it, by getting auditions. And I would go in and I don't know, there were parts, and sometimes I could even, what part do I want to audition for? And I just leaned a little bit more toward that. I have a quality in my voice that I think there's a lot of agreement that there's a coarseness to it, and I can rough it up when I speak.
So I can gravel it, and sometimes I guess I don't know who this is, whose character that is, but I just sort of mess up my voice, and for some reason they make this sound like a boy because it's a little tough, and I have a little bit of an attitude.
So they associate that sound with a boy rather than a girl. And it's just, I don't know what that is. I think it's an interesting study of, I guess, some sensory thing. Audio, I don't know.
Did you have to learn that? Did someone tell you that? Or did it just kind of come naturally?
No. Nobody taught it to me. I had a mentor, Dawes Butler, who was Huckleberry Hound and Yogi Bear and Quick Draw McGraw. He did all these characters way before you were even born. But you can still see him. But he was old enough to be my dad, and when I was in Ohio and he was out in California, we became very close, and he would send me scripts through the mail, and I'd record my voice on cassette and mail it back to him. And long distance wise, he was kind of mentoring me. But shortly thereafter, I realized I wanted to be with him. So I transferred from Ohio University to another school in Southern California.
Across the city.
But USC has adopted me. I'm just saying.
We're happy to have you anytime.
Tip of the hat to Dean Daly. I love being here. I really love it, and it's a beautiful campus, and the kids get a great opportunity, and what you're doing, and all these guys here doing their class and running the cameras and editing and doing all that stuff. And
well, those types of resources weren't available when you were starting out.
Not quite.
Yeah.
I was a communications major, and that's my beginning, and I just learned my craft by doing it. I used to tell stories for competition, and I would get first place in humorous interpretation. And the judges would say, "You got an unusual voice, you should do cartoons for a living." And I'm like, what? People get paid to do that? It just had never occurred to me. I never really put a lot of attention on it. I went, whoa, that sounds like fun. So that's how I did it. So do what you love. If you do what you love, your integrity is the most important thing. Be a professional. Surround yourself with people who respect you and support you in what you do. Because I can't tell you how many people I have met, especially the artists out there, they get people that, really, is that what you're going to wear tonight? And little negative comments. I don't know, the competition's pretty stiff. Are you sure that you really want to? You need to do something that you can fall back on.
Backup plans.
Yeah, plan B. My folks were actually kind of amazing that I left Ohio to pursue a crazy dream that no young woman was doing it. Not a lot of women were doing it at that time. Joni Gerber, B.J. Ward, these are some of the women that preceded me. But I don't know. I guess it was great. But I didn't think of it that way. I just thought I have to do it. because I love it. It just
Yeah.
seems like fun.
It was a passion.
That's right.
And earlier when I heard you spoke, I was just so inspired by your passion. And when you speak about it and you were inspiring all of us in that room, I think I speak for everyone when I said we were all so touched by your
thanks.
words. And it was
Thanks.
so great.
Thanks.
You're welcome. But I actually want to go back to when you were talking about the voicemail that you left.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to tell that story. 'cause I think
Sure.
that's-
Well, when I was working at a radio station at the time, and I got the name of this gentleman I was telling you about, Dawes Butler. So it was just a phone number. There was no address. So I thought, oh, I'm going to call him. I think I'm going to call him. But I didn't tell my family. I'm one of 6 kids. I went down to the basement. I'm kind of like, very clandestine, pick up the phone, rotary dial.
Old school.
Dialing the number, and there was an answering machine, and we didn't have this was the beginning of answering machines. We didn't have one in my family. So I'm listening to this, and I hear, hello, this is Percival Pickles, Mr. Butler's butler. He's not here right now, so leave your name and a message. Wait for the beep. Beep. I'm like,
Hello, Mr. Butler. This is Nancy Cartwright calling from Dayton, Ohio.
and I just left this really insouciant message about, I'm interested in, I heard about you, and I'd like to take your class, but I live in Ohio. Can you send me something? Just call me. Call me collect. And he did. And he called me collect. But we hit it off, and he became my long-distance mentor.
Yeah.
And he would send me scripts, and I'd record it on cassette and mail it back to him, and he'd critique it, and I realized fairly quickly that I needed to move. And so that's what I decided to do, and I told my mom and dad I'm going to move to California. I was about 20 at the time, and I did. Didn't know anybody, and just did my thing.
I'm still in awe with that story. I just think that's so ballsy to leave a voicemail, basically demo for
Yeah.
this guy, and then move. I mean, it's such an inspiration. My last question before we go to commercial break would
Sure.
be, what inspires you now?
Gosh, what inspires me? I think a good story. I think a good story really inspires me because I don't think we have enough. There's so much, there's so many venues and so many opportunities for anybody, but especially young people like yourself, to create illusions and to inspire and to bring hope to people. That's what really turns me on, because when I can go to a movie and be inspired by what I see, it makes me want to do better. Then I say, wow, that's what art's all about. And we need more of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, speaking of good stories, I know that you're working on a movie that's coming out, and I'm sure we're going to get to that in the second half. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll be back with Nancy Cartwright and Peter Kjenaas talking about their new movie, In Search of Fellini. You don't want to miss this.
The Robert Zemeckis Center, home to the award-winning television station Trojan Vision. Here, we foster brilliant students who produce innovative weekly television shows. Our students have won numerous awards in categories like Best Producing, Directing, and Writing. The success of Trojan Vision could not be possible without the creativity, intelligence, and vision of our students. Trojan Vision, award-winning, student-run.
May not Galosirtes to Trojan Vision.
掌门版的 Trojan Vision。
欢迎收看 Trojan Vision。
Trojan Vision 환영합니다.
Bem-vindo Trojan Vision.
Welcome back to See You at USC. For those of you who are just joining us now, I'm sitting down with Nancy Cartwright and now Peter Kjenaas. Thank you so much for being here again. And you guys are working on a new movie called In Search of Fellini. Can you tell us a little, well, actually, you guys have been working together for your production company, Spotted Cow Entertainment. So can you tell me the story of how you two kind of met?
Yeah, sure. It was in 1991. At that time, I was already on The Simpsons. I had 2 little babies, and I had taken this trip to Italy 6 years earlier, and I had quite a passion. I wanted to go to Italy to try to find and meet the late great director Federico Fellini. I'd been studying acting. I was in an acting class, and I had seen Fellini's film called La Strada, and I fell in love with Giulietta Messina, who plays the lead actress in there, called Gelsomina. She plays a little clown, because it's like they're in a roving circus, and she plays this little clown, and Anthony Quinn is in it, and Richard Basehart, and it's a heartbreaking story, but I did every scene you could possibly do in that movie on stage, and I wanted to develop it as a theater production. So I thought, well, I'm going to go to Italy and find Fellini. So I went off on this adventure, but I had a wild adventure. A lot of amazing things happened.
As we'll find out.
Yeah, you'll find out. But by 91, I was married and had a couple of kids, and I wanted to really move forward on this passion. I thought maybe I could develop it as a one-woman show. So Peter and I met at a party. There were a bunch of artists there.
Yeah, and you were doing a monologue.
Right.
And the part you didn't hear earlier is in the monologue she was wearing a nun's habit.
Oh.
And she was telling, I can't remember exactly what the thing was, but you were dressed as a nun.
Right.
And I thought, and when she said afterwards, what you said, I'm looking for a writer, I said, I want to work with her.
Because the nun hat.
Yeah, it was just the whole thing.
It was one of those
very
Franciscan
insouciant.
nuns. With
Yeah,
really
stuck way like the flying
Like
nun.
Sound of Music?
Yes, yeah.
Sound of Music.
Yeah.
And I said, no, this looks like fun. This looks like a lot of fun.
So we met, we hit it off, and we made some agreements, and that was it. We started developing it as a one-woman show, and I did a little workshop production of it in 91, or 93, preparing for a legit theater production run of it. And so in 95, we did it at Theater Geo in Hollywood, and I think ran for a couple of months, got a couple of accolades for doing it, but the main thing is that we realized shortly thereafter that we could develop this into a film. But I had no confidence in myself in doing that. It was so not my area, and I was just like, no, I can't do that, but maybe Peter could do that. And we had many false starts and other attempts, but it was a confidence level that I was kind of lacking, but I never lost sight of the dream, of the vision, of telling the story. And I just kept telling the story, and everybody kept saying, God, you've got to do this movie. But it was never the right time. But things changed in my life, and I changed. And Peter ended up editing a book that I wrote in 2000 called My Life as a 10-Year-Old Boy. And I toured the whole planet doing this at lots of universities, and did it at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and performed pretty much my book then. So Peter continued to work with me, and I don't know, about 2.5, 3 years ago, all the stars and planets aligned, and
It was time.
It was kismet, and we did it. And we just got I hired a first-time director, and the crew had never done a feature film before, so we were
At risk.
at risk. But man, how would you like to do your first film and shoot it in Italy? I mean,
I would die. Is that an offer? No.
I know.
Sounds amazing.
So yeah, it was a blast. We were a couple of months in Italy. The first 2 weeks were in Cleveland, Ohio. Yeah, I'm
Hometown.
From, yeah, well,
Hometown
I'm from
represent.
Dayton, but still Cleveland was a good representation. And Maria Bello stars in it, along with Ksenia Solo and Mary Lynn Ricegub. They're so fabulous. They really, they make you laugh and make you cry in this movie.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I personally cannot wait to see this. I know it's based on your life and your travels to Italy.
Yeah.
So how much would you say is really autobiographical?
Wow.
It's really two autobiographical stories woven together. So personal story with your mother and her passing, and then which happened earlier, and then the Fellini story is pushed later, close to his death. And I would say about 60% is like close, and then there's you know how with a story you exaggerate, you contract, you have to do everything in 100 minutes. So I think, and then sort of the premise is the central character is not an actress. She's just a young woman in a small town. So we just decided to have it be more of a journey. There wasn't as much of a logic in her going to Italy. It was really just a passion, pure passion.
Right. Yeah, that's about right. And for those who don't know Fellini or aren't familiar with his films, it doesn't matter. You will know a lot more about him when you see the film, but you don't have to know about him in order to enjoy the film. There are a lot of it's a bit of an homage to Fellini for those especially who know him, but again, it's not significant to the story.
Is the story more based on your life or the original Fellini film? Because you've transposed this now from La Strada to the show to back to a screenplay.
Perfect kind of amalgamation of all of those things, actually. So the story of La Strada informs into the real life, and then aspects of the real life tie into La Strada. It goes both directions through the use of clips from the films and other Fellini films. It's actually the editing was spectacular and very difficult, as was the cinematography. And
David Campbell does the music for us, and he composed it all. It's all original music, and it's beautiful. And we opted to go that way to kind of make it just pure, you know.
Well, I saw the trailer earlier, and I'm telling you guys, you don't want to miss this. It looks so good. Like, I was trying to find it online, and you can't find it anywhere, clearly, right now. But you guys have been going to festivals, and tell us a little bit more about that.
So we were just at the LA Italia Film Festival, which celebrates Italian-American cinema. And Italian-Americans are basically the second sort of dominant group in Hollywood. And so there's the Scorseses, Madonna, Nick Cage, Coppola, etc. There's dozens of Italians that are powerful, and they really support this festival. And then we're at Sonoma Film Festival at the end of this month, and we're at Ferrara Festival in Italy in about 3 weeks, and then Taormina in June, and then also we just got an invitation to the Maui Film Festival.
Ooh,
that doesn't suck.
Somebody's gonna have to go. Nancy, you stay home for that one. I'm gonna go that way. And Maui Film Festival, Capri, Ithaca.
Ithaca?
I know.
Is that
Sounds
how you
like
say
you
it?
have
But 3 or 4 festivals in Italy, that doesn't suck at all.
No,
I've never been to Capri. I guess I could work it out.
It's the one place you haven't been, it sounds like.
I didn't make it there.
What do you want your viewers to get out of watching this movie?
Wow, that's a great question. My daughters, I have a 17-year-old daughter, so it's very close to the age of the students. And she just thought that it was a great film for young women to have the courage to try something alone. So one thing that Nancy ended up going alone.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone, any young person, male or female, but it's particularly for women, to go off on an adventure where you're by yourself and you have to use your wits. You have to use your wits. You really don't have any other protection other than that. And you make
it's so
mistakes.
different now. I mean, the timing is so. This was in '85 that I did the journey. This is pre-AIDS. This is women were, it was still very. It was like okay in terms of my own safety to go, but I got myself still in some challenging predicaments, and you'll see it. I don't want to give too much. I don't want to give it away in the film, but. It's a different time period right now. I think I don't know that women should travel alone today unless they're somewhat street savvy,
Right.
But traveling in groups, fine. It would be fine.
I think if anything, it just shows courage and inspires women to take a risk, whether it be traveling across the country or sitting alone at breakfast, like in the dining hall.
It's true. It's true.
That's one thing. And the other is just to give people a positive message. I really want people to take away the idea that they can take a risk, they can carpe diem towards some kind of a dream. And it can work out in an unexpected way, a completely unexpected way, which it does. But that can be the best. You don't need to know the end of the journey in order to get the benefits of the journey. It's really,
Yeah, and I think I'd sort of touched on it in the last segment about that I hope people are inspired. And if people, the takeaway is that, wow, she had a dream. She had a dream. She had a story that she wanted to tell, and she never gave up on the story. And then she did it. She actually did it. And if other artists are inspired by that, so that it motivates them to do their dream, I think everybody has some kind of a story to tell. I found that out in my journey through life, that everybody is so interesting. You just got to give them a second. You just kind of pull the little string about who are you, and people have amazing journeys.
Yeah, I mean, from what you guys are telling me, it sounds like a story about finding the inner self and really discovery. And I think that everyone can learn something from watching a movie like that.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to this. Do you know when it'll be available? Can you give us any insight?
some Friday in August
Okay.
of this year.
Not too long.
Not too long, about 6 months from now, yeah.
Okay, so we'll actively wait until that day.
Till the red carpet.
Is there anything else Spotted Cow is doing right now?
Yeah, actually, we're in. We've got another project that we're casting for right now that we hope to be shooting in June, and it's a comedy. It's a very different kind of a story, but the whole premise of Spotted Cow is to take a character that's going a certain direction in his or her life, and something changes internally with that person that makes them take another route. It's like they carpe diem. They decide to take an adventure and they change. And so these kinds of films, I think we need more of them.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad someone's making them. And would you have any advice to students that want to be filmmakers or in entertainment in general?
Well, it sounds a little trite and fortunate, but just do it. I mean, especially in this day and age when the expense of making, there are films that are being done on iPhones now that aren't half bad. And so there's really no technical challenges anymore. That, film used to be a real barrier because it was expensive. But I think you can do it, and you have friends, and you just make friendships, and get people with other skills, join and create your art, and learn by doing. I think is the best thing I would say.
Yeah, I'd say, and there was somebody at the other event that I was speaking at. She came up to me afterwards. She said, "What do you think? Should I do it as a play or should I do it as a movie?" I said, "It doesn't matter. Just decide. Just decide and do it." Because truthfully, there's no right, there's no wrong. The idea is just to get it done. And if you can decide and do it, is actually do it, that's amazing.
Well, unfortunately, we're all out of time, but it was so lovely getting to speak with both of you. I cannot wait for your movie. And be sure to watch See You at USC every weeknight right here at 6:30 on Trojan Vision. Have a good night.
Boop, boop, boop.